Previously, we made a GET request to get the list of tasks from our API server. It's now time for us to do a POST request. For this, I'm thinking we're going to implement the login component that we have and get that up and running. Now, for the previous code, we kind of just unloaded the login component, but it still exists. So I still have this login form. So what I'm going to do is come into the library. I'm just going to get rid of our button and the pre-tag here, and we're going to replace it with login, which does mean we need to use that. So use login, and we should see, we have an error. Type annotations needed for what? Yeah, this entire callback that we had for that button previously. We don't need you at all. So this goes away. And now we have our login component back again. All right, so what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to type our username and password in, hit login and have it do something. Right now, if we take a look at the login code, whenever we have a change on username or password, it's storing that data into the Yew.rs store, which is great. And then we have a handle form submit, which gives us access to the state, and we're just basically making up a token and displaying that. Well, for this made up token, let's make sure that we can display that out first. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a token here equals. Now, a problem that we're going to run into is I need access to the state, and we're using the Yew.rs use store right now, which is a little bit gnarly to work with. Let's take a look at what I mean. So we're going to do store.state, which gives us an option. And unfortunately, I can't just unwrap this because when the component first loads, the state doesn't exist yet. Which means that it's going to fail. So we're going to do an if let sum, and we're going to get state out of here. And then I want to return the state dot, just give me the token, and let's just clone that. Okay, so that just gives me the string of the token. Otherwise, I just want a new string because it'll be empty. So string new. Now we can create a new section of this page to display that token to the screen so we can just sort of see what we're working with. We're going to do a p tag. I'm going to use a format macro to then say token. All right, so when this refreshes, we actually see that token previously. We do have persistent storage on, so every time that the state changes, it does store this in local storage. So no matter how many times I refresh, this stays there. Let's go ahead and reset this. If I go to storage, local storage, just delete all, and then I hit refresh, that token is gone. But that does let me know that as soon as we hit login, that's coming back. Excellent. Now I want this to be a real token. If we go over to Thunder Client, when I do a login, this is what that token is going to look like. Something like this. Significantly longer and very easy to tell the difference between the little token that we just manually create right now. Okay, so that's the first step done. Next thing's up, we need to do the actual request. This file can get a little bit large if we're trying to put the request inside of this reduced callback itself. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file where we're just going to put API requests. So api.rs. And this is something that I usually end up doing on all of the applications I build is just abstract all the APIs away into a single folder, or in this case, single file. Okay, mod API. Okay, so we have access to. Let's head over into the API, and I'm going to create a pub function. Let's just call this API like login. I'm doing API login just to make it a little bit easier to know where it comes from, especially since Rust Analyzer is going to just try to bring in the function name itself when I use it, and that way I don't do some like API : login and have to overwrite that myself. I'm just feeling lazy. All right, well, for this, we know we're going to need a username, which can be a string, and we need a password, which is going to be a string. We're also going to return a token, but it's going to be some like big object because we won't turn the entire thing. What if we don't want just the token, but something else? So we need some struct to know what to return here. Let's go ahead and build that up right now too. So this is going to be a response. This is going to be a API login response. And let's go ahead and take a look at this. We have a data, ID, username, and token. So let's create this one as the ID, username, and token. So we have pub ID. That's a U32. We have a pub username, which is a string, and a pub token, which is a string. Okay. I am going to return this thing. I should probably tell it to struct. So this is an API login response. Okay, excellent. Now we're going to be doing an asynchronous request, which does mean we also need to set this as async. So a pub async function login API. Now notice I don't have to tell it that it's a futures that I'm returning. Rust handles that for us. Okay, so we're going to do a request, which is from req.wasm. We're going to do a post, and we're going to send it to HTTP localhost 3000 API v1, and then this is to users login. Okay. We do need to set a header for this because I'm sending JSON data, so we need to tell it what the content type is. Content type is application JSON. We also need to set the body to be what this is going to be. Okay, so I can maybe use the JSON and just sort of have this be what I want, and then maybe to string. Let's try it. JSON, let's see, I can do that. I want to put in for this body, this username. So username is going to be, well, username. The password, that's kind of that. I then need to, I believe, see if this is going to work. I think it's going to be a little bit upset about this. So I'm going to actually throw this into a variable right above it. So body equals, move you up there. Oh, I'm missing that. That's what I'm missing. Okay, so JSON cannot find a macro. Let's bring it in. Okay, so I've got this JSON value. Let's see if I can do a, I need to stringify it. So that's just a normal toString. I'm not completely convinced that that's the right toString. Okay, so it's expecting the other to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a, well, to do macro here, which is going to let the compiler know that I'm not done writing this yet. Okay, so you're going to need, okay, username and username. I think you need to be quoted. We'll put in password here. All right, that's happy. Let's see. After our body is set, we're going to want to then go ahead and just send it. And now it gets fun. So we're going to have to await this to come back. Now, if we remember from the get, after we get this back, we now need to convert this into JSON. So, oh, sorry, we need to unwrap it because we've got a result. So unwrap. Unfortunately, there's no way for, like, we can return a result at this point in time, but then the one level up where we're going to be using it, there's no return there. So I'm just going to unwrap it here. Then we're going to JSON to convert to JSON. This is asynchronous, so I'm going to await that and then unwrap that. Unfortunately, JSON has no idea what this is going to be, so we need to now tell it what type this is. So we have a pub. This can probably just be a private struct. This is going to be our API login response data, which just has a pub data with an API login response inside of it. So I'm going to tell JSON that that is what we're expecting to get out. API login response data. Okay. I want to grab this into a variable. So this is going to be a response equals that. Let's see, JSON. Oh, no trait. So both of these need to implement serialize and deserialize. So we're going to go ahead and derive, serialize, and deserialize. All right, that makes that happy. Now we have a response, which is this API login response data. I can finally remove this to do, and we're going to return response.data. That way, whatever we're working with doesn't need to worry about that, and they can just go straight into the token. Okay, back to login. Now that we have that function created, we can call it. So here in our store, we don't need this entire thing where we're just setting the token like that. We're doing an event prevent default. That's great. But at this point in time, we now need to do a another block. So this is going to be in the wasm binden futures spawn local. We're going to have an async just block here where now we can call that function. So we need to grab the username and the password. We have them in the state here. So let username equals state.username, and let's just clone that out so we don't have to worry about, accidentally taking ownership. We're then going to move these into this block here, and then use them to get access, get the result. So that our response equals, so what did we call this? We called this the API login. So API login, pass it in username, pass it in password, and right there. Oh, we do have to await this, which is why we're inside this async block. And now we have a response. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and log this out. We've done a lot of things without necessarily checking that it's all working. So I want to respond log response dot token. and import you from glue.console. Okay, no errors. Let's go ahead and here, gonna clear out this local storage again, just that we don't have a confusing token there. All right, and we'll log in, and there we go. That is the token that we're looking for. So the last step here is gonna be to put this into the store. Unfortunately, it's not gonna be quite as simple as just saying state.token equals, response.token, because this state is a mutable reference here. I don't have like an RC. I don't have something that can be, I don't have anything thread safe for us. That's clearly a problem. You can't move mutable references across threads. So what we can do is get a dispatch, and that one is thread safe. We can clone that and then pass the clone across. And then when we update you, you're going to be fine. So I'm first going to start with doing the sort of like the block pattern that we've done in a few of these others, where we're just going to say, okay, let dispatch equals, we're going to get store dot dispatch, and then we're going to clone you. I'm cloning this so it doesn't think that it needs, like the store needs to be around for a long time. I'm just getting the dispatch itself. Now we're going to have to move. Let's also close this block off down here. That was that type of block. Okay. Now I need to, see the store. Okay, so here we're going to move in this dispatch to here. Now I want the dispatch down here. I can't use it yet. I have to first sort of clone it once again here so it knows each level it's going into. Okay, now we can use the dispatch in this final block here. So it's a little bit messy, but this is how we're going to do it. Now we have a response. We can extract our token out here. So let token equals response dot token. I can go ahead and clone it if I really need to. Let's hold off and sort of see if we need to it at the next point. Now we can do a dispatch, and we can get a reduce function. We're going to get the state inside of here, and I want to, and I actually don't need this to be multi-line. We can just set the state dot token is going to be equal to this token here. We also need this to be a move because I'm moving this token into this closure. Hit save. No errors. Okay, let's see if this works. Back up to here. We've got no token in. Gonna do log in. Actually correctly put in my password. And bam, token is now actually in the store and displayed out here. So let's do a really quick review because this is a lot. And you can see there's a lot of sort of, it's not the cleanest of code here that we have. So we get the store using our use store effect, like use handle basically. I'm cloning dispatch out because dispatch is thread safe because I can clone it and it's still the same one behind the scenes. I can now pass dispatch into our final async block so that it can do the dispatch reduce and then store the token away. But I have a reduce callback first, and I'm doing this so that way I can have access to the state so I can get the username and password. but I'm also doing that because it returns a callback, which then can be used inside of the onSubmit event. I have to catch, sort of like catch dispatch in like the first closure that we create, clone it, and then we just toss it right into the next closure down here. The actual request is happening in a different file. I created this API file where we do the request. It's pretty much exactly the same as the get, except with the big difference we have this body. And body, we're creating a JSON object and then toStringing it. I'm using the macro here. You don't have to use the macro. You could set up another struct, put in username and password in there, and then just do like the JSON, the Serde JSON toString method and pass it a reference to that struct. It's exactly the same as what we're doing here. It's just a little bit cleaner. In fact, I could throw this inside of here, but I kind of feel it's a little bit nicer to not be putting too many things inside of function calls. And then finally, we're just doing this reduce and stuffing away the token. So that is maybe a lot. It's something that we should definitely practice and keep on working with. But I'm sure there's ways we can find out how to like abstract these out, make this a little bit nicer looking code, and then also a little bit easier to sort of like find where things are happening. That being said, this is the basics of it. Hopefully you should now be able to make GET requests and POST requests to an API and send and receive JSON data. Anyways, hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.